Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to AEW Uncensored. My name's Bill. Got my boy Alan here.
Hey, yo.
Here to just talk some AEW this week, as always, obviously, by the name of the podcast. um, First, just want to start off by saying check the links in the description. Send us a request on Skype, and we'll add you into our Skype chat. And from that Skype chat, what we do is, we'll bring you from that chat. You can stay in that chat all the time, and we'll bring you from that chat right into the show if you ever want to come on as a guest, just to talk about anything AEW. Basically, you have a question, you have a thought, you have a topic you want to discuss. So that chat that we put you in once you send us the request on Skype will be the catalyst for you being able to get on the show with us and talk some turkey, basically. And of course, like, subscribe, share, as you see on your screen. Check out our Facebook page. Email us any questions if you want to bring them up on the show. All that stuff. You could check us on all the podcast apps and such. And that's pretty much it. Just wanted to kind of get that stuff out of the way. So what do you got? What do you got, Alan? I know you got a hot take.
Yeah, I figure I want to do a little bit of a house cleaning from last week before we get into current going-ons. So we, last week we reviewed Double or Nothing. For the most part, we had a very positive review for the show. I like to look at different takes across the wrestling world on social media. I just like to hear different people's opinions, just to get different perspectives. And there have been a few opinions that I've been wanting to address that I thought would be a good thing to talk about today. Is that there's been a number of conversations revolving around the Stadium Stampede match. Now, the Stadium Stampede match was, I guess, what we're now calling, a cinematic style match. Basically, something that's become much more of a norm in the current, COVID-19 world. Which does, it makes it look a lot more crisp. It looks a lot more of a Hollywood type feel. And the interesting take that I wanted to talk about is that there are folks out there who are basically saying, all right, look, for all you AEW folks out there who loved Stadium Stampede, it was a silly, match. It was a silly, I guess match is not even the right word for it. It was a presentation. It was a production. And would AEW fans feel differently about it if it was a match that was put on by Vince McMahon and the WWE? And this is coming up because the fact that WWE did recently have their own, cinematic style match. Obviously, WrestleMania had a bunch of them, but they did a Money in the Bank style match with the wrestlers, both men and women, fighting their way through Titan Tower, which I did find pretty interesting. I found it interesting just from the standpoint that, with the same reason the Stadium Stampede, I love the idea of being able to look into Titan Tower. I've never been there. It was nice to be able to go look inside the different floors as they were battling through.
I could see the joy on your fucking
yeah.
WWF Mark face.
Well, you know what? I mean, here's the thing. No matter how you feel about the current product, Titan Tower, that's been what it's been for years and years, since back in the old days. So, in any case, I found it an interesting take. Is that, how would you feel if you're an AEW fan, you love Stadium Stampede, but if you took that match and you put it in a different stadium with WWE performers, would you have the same take on it? Would you feel that it was still very entertaining, very enjoyable? Or would you say, no, this is shit because it's WWE, it's Vince McMahon, it's the same usual shit? And, for me, and I've said this before, you're definitely the big AEW guy. You're much more experienced with it than I am. I am getting more into it. I'm certainly enjoying it. I do watch both products.
Can I ask you something? How am I much more an AEW guy than you when the shit just started? And I believe you watched almost all of it, no?
I haven't. Well, the really, really beginning stuff I had trouble getting into, and I did not watch all of it. I feel that you're probably more schooled on it than I am. I'm still coming across the product as somebody who is trying to get more invested in it, for sure. I am, the more I'm getting involved.
I need a new host, guys. I'm reaching out to anybody listening right now.
Yes. I'm doing this to announce I'm looking at. We're looking for a replacement. No, no, but what I am noticing about it though is that it is a good point that a lot of what you're seeing, that the storytelling is definitely more dynamic and there's definitely working with better talent. But there is a lot of what you are seeing in
I don't
AEW today
I
that
don't think it's better talent they're working with, because obviously WWE has tons of talent. I think it's the system of WWE is is the main problem with a lot of the business today. You know, okay. I mean, there's a lot wrong with the business today. But whatever. But I think a portion of what's wrong with it is a lot of the WWE, you know, scripted shit, the interviews, the forcing people to do certain things, forcing people not to do certain things. You know, they just went and banned the buckle bomb again.
Mhm.
I thought they had banned it already, but I guess that's just another move that they had banned from. What's up, Eddie? That they had banned their wrestlers from using again. So it's just like in the vein of the Stampede match, I think the real issue here is people are just tired of the WWE institution of wrestling and what they do with wrestling. I don't. I think they have tons of talent, which is why I want to slap the shit out of people in these AEW groups that are like, why don't you stop talking about bringing WWE guys to AEW? AEW needs to do this and needs to do that. Um, you know what, man? AEW needs to get as much talent as they can because it only helps them. It's the way they're used and how where they use them, why they use them, what they do with them. WWE has taken some very talented people and not used them accordingly, or use them for a little bit and then completely just shut it down when they're still hot. So I think that's the real issue between the brands. AEW is going to allow you to be you, number one, and allow you to take the ball and run with it. And they're not going to stifle you because you went and took the ball and ran with it. Um, I think it's less of a stadium stampede versus a graveyard, boneyard match, or whatever it was called. I think it's more that. I think it's more, AEW lets you run with the ball. Okay, we'll go to Matt Cardona, aka Zack Ryder. I can't remember. I think he was on either Busted Open or Jericho's podcast, and he said, every year, the beginning of the year, they have a meeting that says, and they go, who's gonna grab the brass ring?
Right.
Who's gonna grab the brass ring? It's there for the taking. Who's gonna grab it? Zack Ryder went out. He did the Z True Long Island story or whatever YouTube thing. I don't know much about it. I know of it. I never seen it. Um, Basically, what I understand is The Rock in Madison Square Garden came out and they were chanting for Zack Ryder.
Right.
Okay, I mean Madison Square Garden, Rock returns. They're chanting for Zack Ryder. If you ask me, that's getting over. Now he got a little bit of a push after that, and from what he said is eventually it's just like it died down. And why? Because it wasn't their idea. You get what I'm saying? Tony Khan's going to say, grab that brass ring. And Tony Khan's going to, just because you grabbed it, he's going to let you run with it as long as possible. He's not going to punish you because you grabbed that brass ring and you ran with it.
So
I think that's the difference between Stadium Stampede, goofy shit, and we talked about it. There was some good shit, some goofy shit. It was almost a match where I'm good with the goofy shit, as to where the ladder match with the Marco stunt piece, I wasn't good with it. I was kind of okay with the Orange Cassidy shit. It kind of fits his character. Um, but I felt like that ladder match had those two segments were too much goofy shit, where um, the Stadium Stampede was basically, the whole thing was a mix of goofy, real, uh, like you said, cinematic, like movie-esque shit with the bar scene and all that. So I think that's where the good faith kind of comes in with AEW, and they're not killing the good faith by doing that. That's my take on it and why I feel the difference between the two. I just feel like it's a systematic WWE thing, in my opinion.
So I agree with you for sure that there is a systematic difference between the two companies. There's no doubt about that. I think what I'm talking about with this specific match, and again, if you want to compare it to not so much the Graveyard match, but the Money in the Bank match, I'm looking at more as let's look at these two matches in a vacuum. Let's ignore the systemic differences between the two companies, but just look at the matches in a vacuum. And if
But
you were to look at the Stadium Stampede match, and let's say you saw this match and you had no idea who put it on. Let's say you were coming in fresh, you have no idea who the performers are, you have no idea who's putting it on. What might you think about it if you're not really coming in from the perspective of, okay, I understand AEW put this on versus WWE. There's some preconceptions. I'm just saying is that I think that is a thing.
but I think you can't put it in a box. You can't just take it and go put these two in a box like no one ever has ever seen it. No one knows anything about it. I think that's where the argument, it can't go beyond. You can't just dismiss the systemic scenario between the two companies and why certain people do, think X, Y, or Z. I think it's just too intertwined. I didn't see these other matches. I can't say negative things about them because I don't watch it.
Mm-hmm.
So I did hear about the Cena and Bray Wyatt match. I forget what it was called.
Oh, for WrestleMania, yeah.
Right. I heard about it, and when I heard about it, I was like, I'm like, that sounds interesting. If they did it well, I actually like the whole Bray bringing John through his career in separate little scenarios during that match, and it's like I didn't have an issue with it. And you know me, I hate WWE. I'm looking for something
Yeah.
to throw on it. I've always pretty much not been a WWE guy. It's just I've always been a WCW guy. I stepped away from wrestling in 2001 for the better part of 20 years. I mean, I a couple on and off things with wrestling since, between then and now, but AEW kind of brought me back. It gave me something different to look to. I just happened to be investing myself into wrestling a little bit more over the last 3 or 4 years, and seeing some guys that I were kind of following on and off. Cody when he left WWE. Um, uh, Jesus, wow, drawing a blank. But Omega. I'm sorry. I was invested in some Omega stuff. So things like that, I kind of got interested, and I'm like, okay, AEW's a thing now. Now I'm back. Um, and like just Tony Khan, like the guy's brain is like it's crazy when you hear him interview, and he knows everything. Like he remembers everything. That's coming from somebody like me who's got no kind of memory at all. For him to just know literally words that were said, whether he watched it live or on a videotape back in the day, like it's crazy. And for me, I think a guy like that has some kind of value to the wrestling business. People want to shit on him and be like, oh, he's a money mark, whatever. Okay, he's a money mark, but he probably knows more than a lot of guys out there in general. You know, yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with being a money guy either. That's a fan. It's kind of disrespectful to use that term. Because otherwise, how else are you going to get something like AEW off the ground? You have to have
sure.
money. You have to have money. So anyway, I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent, but that's why I think I don't think that I don't think that the WWE thing was wrong, as well as the Stadium Stampede thing.
Yeah, and I don't think either were wrong. I'm just bringing this up because the fact that I thought it was interesting that people were bringing up, hey, how would you have felt if this is a WWE thing? My opinion, honestly, insofar as these types of matches, I like them quite a bit, and I think they're the future. I think that the business has been forced into this direction by COVID-19, where we have now obviously they're now finally starting to get some people watching again live, even if it's just other wrestlers, but this forced them into a new style of entertainment that I think is actually important. I don't think you can any longer say that everything has to be the old school NWA WWF style. You can't. You got to evolve. And
See, I'll disagree. I mean, continue, but I disagree. I don't think that this should be the future of wrestling.
well, I'm not saying
Personally.
the only future. I'm saying you can have a little bit of everything. But I do think that this is an important element moving forward because it does, in the same ways back in the 80s, you had the rock and wrestling connection that got the mainstream audience involved with wrestling that never would have happened without an event like that. This kind of a direction of having these cinematic style matches will also get more mainstream involvement because of people who just want to watch entertainment and they don't want to feel that they have to be constrained to, well, I have to know what wrestling is and what wrestlers do. This allows another door to open. So I think you can have all of it, but I do think that this probably is an important future evolvement to look towards.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that this. I think in this time frame, these work. So I'm not against them. I'm not against doing them in the future. But again, I also, like I told you, I think too much camp is too much camp. So you can't over camp things. You can't get too goofy as we were talking about on I believe last week. Where things, it's just sometimes it's just like there's enough comedy that you could put in without shoehorning it everywhere. And I think that I think that the Stadium Stampede it allowed some goofy shit that they could get away with because of the scope of that match in itself. You know what I mean?
Well, I think you and I might be talking about two different things here. I'm not necessarily using comedy as a synonym for a cinematic style match. I feel that you can do a match like this without goofiness, without comedy. There's many.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
In the same way that movies today, there are comedies or there are dramas or there are whatever, they're rom-coms. There's different ways that you can go about producing something like this.
No, you're 100% right.
But yeah, I would love to certainly get back to full audience, actual wrestling matches, great. But I do think that this has opened up a new wormhole for a new possibility to throw in there, not necessarily every month, but maybe periodically throughout the course of a year.
I think really, I'm sorry, I kind of like brought up the comedy aspect because of what the Stadium Stampede was. It had a lot of that. But I think I just mean in general, just cheese, lots of cheese, lots of goof shit, maybe not necessarily comedy per se, but I don't know how the match played out or the undertones of the Titan Tower match, but I mean, they said they threw Rey Mysterio.
That definitely had some goofiness too. It did.
Okay,
yeah,
so it was a little goofy. Okay,
absolutely.
Okay. I didn't know if it was a goofy thing or not. So, but it's almost like even if in that segment, it's almost like, well, it's kind of cheesy. You threw him off the thing, but he comes back, the next night on Raw.
There was this large net that they bounced off. No, I don't know. It's
oh, they showed it. Okay,
no,
at least they showed the net.
I was kidding. They never explained it. That is the funny thing, is that it's so funny you bring that up with Rey Mysterio. He gets thrown off the roof, and then the next night, he's fine, but he gets into this injury angle with Seth Rollins. Like, oh, that's what takes him off the table, not getting thrown off the roof. That part is funny.
the band buckle bomb. I don't know if that was what hurt him, but
Yeah. No, cool. No, it was just something I wanted to talk about. I thought it was. It does. There are a lot of interesting things that can come out of this. I do feel like everything, wrestling is evolving, and I like the idea that okay, there is another dimension that they could go into while hopefully returning to obviously the familiarity of real matches and such once we actually get back out of this whole situation. But anyway. Yeah. I stand by what we said last week. I enjoyed it.
I mean, I enjoyed the pay-per-view.
I enjoyed the whole pay-per-view. I enjoyed the Stadium Stampede match quite a bit.
Me too.
And yeah, I think that they are really finding their niche with the talent that they have and with the audience that they have. And we can go into this week's Dynamite episode because there were a lot of things I liked about this episode. There were a number of things I thought were very interesting that they were kind of building up familiarity with old types of storylines like the WWE did that they're molding into their own, which we could talk about. But But yeah, if we want to discuss the show.
All right. Yeah. Well, real quick. I don't know. I haven't been watching Dark. I got to be honest. I really want to get
I need
more
to as well. Yeah.
I got to get more invested. Early on, I was like, I'm going to invest in it. And then they kind of just were just doing these, 8-man tags and 4-team tag matches. And I was like, there was no, it was almost just like a show they were just throwing random matches on. And it was just like, well, you have this extra time, use it for something. Storyline, building characters, whatever, whatever. So I did watch Dark this week. I'm not going to lie. I didn't literally sit and laser focus on it, but I watched and kind of peripherally watched a little bit. Maybe was a little distracted at sometimes, but couple quick things. QT Marshall and the Bunny. Um, there was a little bit of an angle there where she came out during their match and she was teasing QT Marshall with an apple. And I believe, was it this past week on Dynamite? Yeah, this past week on Dynamite, she was in a crowd with QT
Right.
next to him. I don't know what's going on with that. I kind of like her as Bunny with Butcher and the Blade. Like,
I do
I don't
too.
know why you, I don't know why you would just pull her out of that and put her with QT Marshall. No offense, but
Yeah.
QT Marshall is just, he's mostly an enhancement guy, I would say, or just mostly like, you know, Dustin Rhodes' partner there. So I don't know where they're going with that. The next thing on Dark that I noticed that was really good was the Cutler and Avalon thing. Who's gonna win first? They have this thing going on being the elite where they're both jobbers and they're both losing a lot, and it's basically them trying to coming out. It's mostly Avalon coming out and prodding Cutler about him being a loser. You're a loser. I'm gonna win.
Yeah.
So now they're actually turning. I like that they're using Dark to kind of flesh that little feud out, and I think it's fun. I actually think Cutler could wrestle. I mean, I think his long ass neck is killing him. Uh, but I think Avalon, like I've always said, if Avalon did something different with his hair and got rid of that stupid mustache, I definitely could get in. I I think he's a good wrestler. I think he could talk, and I think he could do something. So anyway, that was it. I was interested in that. And one of the other things I noticed was Lee Johnson versus Cole Cabana. As Cole Cabana's coming in, Lee Johnson is singing the boom boom Cole Cabana. It's like, man, you're about to wrestle this guy. You don't want to sing his theme song before the match. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. Just I thought it was kind of I thought it was a little goofy. No matter how catchy it is, it's almost like you got to stay. You can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's dark, but just come on, man. Stay in character a little bit. You're about to fight this guy. That's it. Just a couple. I guess I'll try my best to watch some Dark before we do these, and I'll take some notes, little notes, nothing serious, nothing that we have to delve too deep into, unless there's something deep dive worthy. You know what I mean?
And to your point, there may be elements that happen on Dark that do affect the main show, and if so, it totally makes sense to talk about how those tie in.
I think now is more. I feel like they're going more towards that. I don't know how long it's been like that, but I feel like they're starting to do a little more storytelling on that, which is why I didn't keep up watching it early on, was because it was just a hodgepodge of matches. You know what I mean? Especially a lot of like multi-person singles and tag matches, which I already think are a fucking shamble when they do them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
All right. I mean, we'll get right into Dynamite. They open with the Inner Circle T-shirt skit. I thought it was funny. I was Listen, I was waiting for. Okay.
I wonder if you and I are going to say the same thing, but go ahead.
I was waiting for them to kind of use, what are we going to do with these shirts? And then, we could always send them to a village in Africa, and
Exactly what I was thinking. If this had been the 1980s or
yes,
1990s, you would have
yes,
had this shit with let's send to Ethiopia or let's send to Africa. Let's get. I thought that
yes.
that's where they were going to go with it. Honestly, I really did. I was thinking in the back of my head. I was like, that would be bold if they go ahead and do that. But anyway.
Yeah, dude, I was like, yeah, they're gonna do it. Hey, I swear to God, my note said if it wasn't so PC now, a good joke
Yeah.
about an Africa village getting the
Yep.
shirts would be hilarious right now. I mean, I don't know how true that technically is. I mean, you always see pictures of a random kid with like a Knicks World Champs
No,
T-shirt, you know?
apparently that is real. That's been
Yeah,
documented. That
I
yeah,
believe it.
it
I
has
believe it.
happened.
But hey, listen, what's a better way than to donate that type of stuff? Because
Exactly.
they obviously have to make shirts for both teams because
Oh
you
yeah.
never know who's going to win. So what's a better way than to donate it to an area where clothing is not, readily
Oh yeah.
available or it's expensive. So joking aside, I mean,
I mean,
it is what it is. But
Game 6 of the 1986 World Series, Mets and Red Sox. Red Sox had all those shirts lined out, ready to go with the champagne. They had it
yeah,
ready to go. They had pictures of
well,
that in the locker room showing the shirts draped over. Those things were made. It's to your point. They have to make them. And then whoever wins, they throw out the paraphernalia and throw it to whoever. And what happens with the rest? It makes so much sense.
we got to find out where those shirts went and
I
look
know,
for some
right?
pictures.
Oh, God.
Look for some pictures with some guys or kids rocking those shirts.
Exactly.
Boston Red Sox shirts. Yeah, man. I was like, man, that'd be great if they did that. I thought it would be fucking hilarious. But
I did too. I really would have.
you know,
Yeah.
listen, right now, unfortunately, everybody cries about everything, so you can't,
It's true.
you can't make a joke like that anymore. Even if it's like a harmless, I mean, it's real to life shit. It's.
Yeah.
But even so, it's to me it's a harmless joke. I mean, but whatever. I'm me, right? So I guess my harmless joke doesn't matter. Uh, anyway, so what was next? The Elite promo. They were doing that. Yeah, they were doing that promo with those guys, and it's funny how Paige is like, "I'm out of here," and Kenny was like, "Oh shit, that's my way to get out of this nonsensical fucking interview," Because and then of course it went on to be more camp with Matt Hardy. But I'm giving Matt Hardy leeway here because he did this gimmick, and that's another thing you almost kind of want to say, well, AEW did it, but people didn't care, but WWE did it, and people might care. But then there's also the WWE guys at the marks now that are like, oh well, fucking Matt Hardy XYZ, but it seemed like Matt Hardy was the hottest thing on wheels when he was doing the broken gimmick before he went to WWE.
That's right. WWE didn't allow him the creativity that he wanted to continue with that work, and that's what we were talking about at the very beginning of the show. Those systematic differences, where they didn't allow him to run with it, and now AEW's allowing him to run with it. So is it campy? Yeah, but that's been his shtick. That's what got him over.
Right, but my point is that pre WWE, and I guess even in WWE, everybody loved the gimmick. Everybody was on board. Now all of a sudden he's in AEW, and everybody's like, "Oh, fucking Matt Hardy, he's this, he's that." So it's almost like a reverse. Like now the WWE marks are shitting on Matt Hardy, and disregarding his gimmick. Now, is it because he's in AEW? Is that the reason why? You get what I'm saying?
Sure.
So it's almost like a win. You can't win for losing type of thing.
No.
You know what I mean? So, whatever. I thought it was a bit campy, and I thought it was a bit campy, and then just them hightailing it, finding a way to hightail it. I thought Kenny was more because what is that he's saying? Oh, they had the lawsuit, so it took a little longer for them to get it rolling in the WWE. Anyway, I just found it funny because obviously Paige strolls away in all these interviews and shit, but I found it Kenny's usually kind of there, and he's like, all right, now I could leave with fucking I could leave with Paige. So What else? What do you got?
Well, I mean, I guess we could talk about the Matt Hardy Young Bucks match with Joey Janela Private Party. I mean, there wasn't honestly much to really. There's not much to say. It was an okay match. It's really what happened afterwards that's the big deal. Um, yeah, you sounds like you want to interject something there.
Yes. I just wanted to put dead air out there. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm joking. Okay. 2 weeks in a row,
Mm-hmm.
we got an abdominal stretch again.
Oh yeah. There you
Boom.
Go. There's
Cassidy
the
with the
old,
abdominal stretch.
Mixing in the old school. There you go.
Of all people, Cassidy from Private Party with the abdominal stretch.
I'll take it really seriously when we see an atomic drop. That's something I have not seen since the 80s.
That yes.
If I see nice. Anybody do an atomic drop, mad respect.
Wait, wasn't Cody doing atomic drops?
Was he like an actual atomic drop?
Maybe not. I'd have to go back, but you see that, or just a sunset flip, or something. I feel like there's not many like legit just regular sunset flips. I mean, they have the flips into pins, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe just a regular backdrop.
I was gonna say, if anything, like I feel like there's an overabundance of sunset flips now in WWE with the women. Actually, they're doing a lot of it. Yeah. I don't know. It's like they've taken the move and just run with it themselves now.
I thought it was hilarious how it was Cassidy of all people, because he's like, he's part of the group with Private Party where they're just flying all over the place.
Exactly. Yeah.
Very, very busy match. 6-man's, especially today, with the style, is just too much.
Yeah, I'm never a fan of multi-people matches like that.
Yeah. I feel like they're gonna I feel like they're really gonna throw in a 6-man title, down the line.
Mm-hmm.
You could see that they're kind of building it. They've already formed a couple 3-man teams, and they had a couple. I'm not a fan of it. 6-man tags never ever interested me at all.
I'll be honest, I don't know if I've ever told you this. I've never been a big tag team wrestling guy. I mean, there are certain tag teams I loved as a kid, but other than the drama of waiting for the hot tag, I've always felt like even tag team wrestling in general is busy. So once you introduce a third person, you make a 6-man tag, then it's a matter of, is everybody getting enough time in the ring? Are they telling the story still, as well as they would if it was just 2-on-2? I don't know. I'm also just, not a fan of 6-man tags at all. And this one just felt like it was unnecessary. I mean, I don't know.
Surprisingly, I felt they were having a really good match until the very end. Mm-hmm. I was actually surprised because I felt like the whole overall match was pretty good. I thought Private Party held up their end. But I thought the end, looked awful. Then Mark Quinn sells the knee. At first, I thought he was hurt. Apparently, that's leading into something.
Right.
Matt Hardy was on Busted Open, and he had mentioned that, that whole thing is leading into something else. Kind of disappointed he gave that up.
Yeah.
But what can we do? Yeah, okay. So I felt like I wasn't sure if he was hurt, but I kind of felt like that was you're able to get Matt Hardy out of the scene to get Butcher and the Blade to attack the Bucks, and then with that out comes FTR to help the Bucks, which was great. I'm not sure about this driving the car, and it's like my big thing is, how the fuck did you know that the Bucks were getting attacked if you're sitting there driving in a car from 1950 that's modded up, unless they put, satellite TV in the bitch, which they could do.
Right,
it's almost like I doubt this is like they obviously are going to do something against each other. I think it was more of a, where we want to fight you fair and square. We don't want, we'll help you now, but, it's only because, we want to go head to head with you. and we don't want to sneak attack you or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I was, again, it was very anticlimactic that the revival, or should we say, fuck the revival, or formerly the revival. I like the act. FTR is great. It's, it is. But I'm glad that they're actually here now, and we'll finally get to see. This is again another Brody Lee situation. These are guys who've been saying for the longest time, we want to show what we're capable of, and now they're in a place where they can. That they're not being held down by a Vince McMahon or anybody else. So I'm happy that they're officially here, and yeah, I am very very curious to see what they do with them now.
I didn't realize that at the WrestleMania that Hawkins and Ryder won the title in Jersey, that they beat them for the title.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. See? Yeah. There you go. I wonder why you want to fucking leave. No offense. I like Hawkins.
Oh yeah.
But,
I mean they've been trying to get up for a long time.
And you dropped the title to two guys that weren't on TV and jobbing
exactly.
on house shows. Like
exactly.
Come on, man. Shit don't make no sense to me.
No.
You know? So
no.
Just another reason. That's top of the show shit right there. That's a little bit of.
It's true.
You know,
I'm happy for
a little
them.
bit of why.
Yeah, I'm happy for them, because I feel like I haven't really seen much of them at all. Like I keep hearing about who they are and how great they are and what they want to do. But yeah, like as somebody who does keep in touch with WWE products, like I don't see anything. But you read about what they've done on the independent circuit and what their aspirations are. It's like, all right, well, good. Now this is great. Let's bring these people in, and let's have them put their money where their mouths are. And yeah.
Well, apparently they were really good on NXT. So I mean.
Yeah, and NXT again.
I don't know.
It's practically independent just because the fact that it's a differently run show. It's you're allowed to actually blossom there, and then once they bring you to the main roster, that's it. Your career's dead. it's ridiculous.
Yeah. People
are fine to go back to NXT now.
Yeah, well, what's his name? Matt Riddle's about to see if he likes it on the.
Oh, that's going to be very interesting. Yeah, I'm wondering. I'm wondering now. With Matt Riddle coming up to the main roster, okay, are we gonna finally get this match with Goldberg, or is Goldberg really serious? Got Goldberg, sorry.
Lesnar.
Lesnar. Is Lesnar really gonna be like? Well, both actually, because they both hate his guts, but they both can't stand him. True. But yeah, I wonder if Lesnar's gonna finally be like, all right, now do you really want to go now? Like, do you want it?
Yeah. I actually know Riddle from MMA, so
yeah. Cool. No, Riddle's got a crap load of talent, man. He just doesn't shut up backstage. That's somebody again who would fit in perfectly here in AEW.
Yeah.
There's so much you could do with him, but we'll see what they do with him on the main roster. But no, I like the idea that yes, you got the Fuck the Revival and Young Bucks staring each other down. There's something that's going to go on there, hopefully, and then we'll see. That's I guess for folks who love the indies and love NXT and do love, this is a dream match. The possibility of that happening very soon. That's like a dream fight. So
felt a little anticlimactic to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool to see, but I almost was like, I'm not. I could have done with the climax being a little, maybe in a different sense. Mm-hmm. Again, it was almost like, cool. I'm happy they're there. Like I popped that they were there, but it was almost like the way they debuted was a little like, I felt a little flat. But moving on, unless you got anything else.
No, that's it. I mean, yeah, Moxley came out. He joined commentary to see the Cage Johnson match, and just very briefly, I mean, I'm sure everybody does know this, but it has been announced that Moxley. He suffered a bruised tailbone.
Ooh, that thing looked brutal.
Bruised tailbone is nothing to fuck with. And hopefully, it sounds like he's not going to mix any in ring time. The picture on Twitter of the injury, he showed the tailbone. It's like, it hurts just to look at that.
Yeah.
But again, he's not really getting involved, I guess, with a big time match now until Fyter Fest. So hopefully by then he'll be okay. But yeah, so he came out to watch Brian Cage versus Lee Johnson. Again.
So I thought that was a really good squash.
Mm-hmm.
Showcase Cage.
Yeah, Cage looks great. He really does. He looks fantastic. So
Fucking Eddie over here. Eddie in the chat attacking me. I love big bodies, he says. That son of a bitch. I like that John Moxley ass shot. How about that?
yeah, there you go.
Hopefully I popped Eddie with that one.
There you
But
go.
no, but yeah, what I liked about the cage squash was it was Vader-esque to me. Vader used to just come out and just fucking destroy guys and just that's it, gone. And yeah, it felt Vaderish to me. So WCW Vader.
Yeah.
All right, not the shit that he got handed in WWE.
No, yeah.
Career killers.
Yeah.
Taz came out. He did the little promo. He was a little bit shaky, couple times during that.
Yeah, Taz needs a little bit more. What's the word I'm looking for?
Reps.
Yeah, well, like you'd have to warm up your car in the winter. He kind of still needs that. He hasn't done this in a while, as far as being that personality, other than being on commentary. So yeah, I think he just needs to get revved up a little bit, warmed up a little bit, to get more comfortable doing the way he used to do it. So we'll see. I think he'll get there. I still think it's a great pairing. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he just stumbled a couple times.
Yeah.
What was next? The Brit promo.
Yo,
that was fire, bro.
See, here's the thing. This is what we were talking about. I think we were talking about this last week or the week before. Britt Baker gets hurt, and I was saying, well, I really hope that they still at least put her on TV. And here you go. She doesn't need to go into the ring. She has become a national treasure for this company as far as being a top heel. And that shit with the chair staying ROLL model, that was gold. That was just gold. Yeah. I loved it. I loved everything about the segment. I love the whole pointers, the rules of being a role model. She's great. And again, this is a great example of if you have a right talent, if they get hurt, yes, it sucks that they got hurt, but they have plenty of mining that they can do with her while she's healing up, to just be on there and be entertaining.
She's gonna be out a while though. She's talking about being back at All Out, right?
Yeah. It's gonna be a while.
That's September 5th, so yeah, it's a long ways away, man. So she must really be injured, pretty good.
Yeah.
She, they said she'll tell you exactly what's wrong with her, but they never really completely went on to how long she'd be out. With the doctor segment.
Yeah.
And her, you know what? I guess they said what was wrong. Yeah, whatever. I'm talking out of my ass at this point. They did say on Double or Nothing that she had that one injury with the broken bone, and I don't think they said the ACL was torn, right?
No. If the ACL was torn, we'd be not looking at September. We'd be looking at fucking March or April. You tear an ACL, you're done for a very long time. And for a wrestler, I mean, that's the thing too, with wrestling, tearing an ACL is potentially career ending. There have obviously been guys who've torn their ACLs, they've come back, but just because of what you do in the ring with it, that is potentially career ending. That thankfully did not happen, at least as long as they don't eventually see that that's what happened, but it sounds like that's not the case, because that would be a much bigger problem.
Yeah, I forgot that they said they were just going to say the timeline. So I guess the timeline being obviously All Out September.
Yeah.
I forgot that the doctor. I thought there was something else wrong that she was going to say on the promo, but I guess I was wrong. Here's the thing: Britt's in-ring work, dog shit. Possibly getting a little better. Obviously, not possibly. It has gotten better since the beginning, but her current gimmick is fucking great.
Yeah.
It's working well. One funny thing she mentioned was Nyla. I've seen Nyla come off the rope with missile precision or whatever she said, and and I'm like, wait a minute. Like two Mondays ago, she was trying to senton and crushing the fucking poor girl. She just fucking. So I popped on that because I was like, yeah, she definitely don't have no precision.
Yeah. No, that was a good thing. I mean, it was like, I think that was done very sarcastically.
So then in her circle, obviously they're going for that little promo, and then Orange Cassidy just does what he does. He just kind of lackadaisically rolls around, like looking around. Hey, where the fuck am I?
Yep.
What's going on?
Yep.
You know. And I thought that was funny. Uh, I guess it could lead to it, but I'm thinking maybe possibly Jericho wants to work with him, you know, and that's a good way to segue into him working with him.
Absolutely.
Obviously they came out and attacked him later on.
Yep.
But he does. Jericho is taking a lot of these guys that are getting a lot of hate and trying and wanting to work with them. You know, they're getting a lot of hate for not being just straight traditional wrestlers, or like Marco Stunt being short.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so Jericho's that guy that he's like, okay, well, I'll put my rub on him.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So fuck it.
Yeah. And Orange Cassidy's over in AEW. So, you put him into a program with Jericho, that's just going to get him to the next level.
Yes. Next was Sheeta versus James. I just got to say, I love all things Brazil.
Yeah.
I collect action figures, G.I. Joe, and I love Brazilian G.I. Joe action figures. Right, Eddie? Eddie's in the chat right now. He made the same comment, and I now love James. I think she has taken the spot of Sheeta for me in AEW. Just kidding. All right, I do love Sheeta. Sheeta's my favorite woman wrestler. I'm just joking. She's very, very good looking, James. So the thing about her, I felt she could wrestle. She looks like she could wrestle.
Yeah.
You know, she put on a good match with Sheeta. And of course Sheeta did her thing. And I just want,
Yeah. But no, it's more talent.
Oh, yo, me and Ed, there's the whole joke with me and Eddie, because Shanna, when she first came out, she was Portuguese, and Eddie, being Portuguese, was all excited. He's like, oh, there's a Portuguese wrestler. Like, 2 weeks later, Shanna's like fucking French or some shit. I go, wait a minute, what the fuck happened? So that's our joke. And so Eddie goes, next week she'll be Colombian.
This happens a lot, I feel like, in wrestling too. It's like you'll have something come out as a specific personality. They'll be either Guido Italian, or they'll be, Jamaican like Kofi Kingston, whatever. And then all of a sudden, fast forward a year or two, and all of a sudden they lose their accent.
All right, a year or two, man. But she came in Portuguese, and 2 weeks later she's French. Come on, man.
They're still working. Maybe that's the gimmick. Maybe the gimmick is she's going to come out as a different nationality every week or two.
What's Shanna's new hailing from? What's her new hailing from? Yeah, but Eddie put in the chat. He goes, next week she'll be Colombian, so she'll go from Brazilian to Colombian. I mean, listen, neither one is too bad. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, Lana's a great example. He just brought up Lana. It's like, it's true. Oh, she went. Well, here's the thing. Lana can't hold a friggin' accent. There's still times where she's talking, and every time she says Rusev, she has a Rusev. She has the, but every that she sounds like a Long Island choir girl. It's like, what the fuck? She just completely lost that entire persona of being Russian. It's hysterical. Oh my God, I love it.
That's funny.
But that's a good gimmick, actually. Come out as a different nationality every week.
Eddie just booked it. Citizens of the World.
There you go.
That could be the woman's faction. Citizens of the World.
There you go.
Just get James and Shanna, and just have them switch nationalities every couple weeks. Yeah. Anyway, it's funny. No, but she could wrestle. All jokes aside, she's good looking good looking woman, but she definitely could wrestle. So when we went to Kenny and Hangman picture in picture, it was kind of funny. This was during a commercial, because it looks like Hangman's like up in the corner. He's like, is that a fucking camera? It looks like he's looking, is that a camera? And then Kenny's watching TV going, hey, we're on TV, we're on TV, so.
It was nice. It was very fourth wall breaking. I like that actually quite a bit. I don't think I've ever seen it before where they're like, oh, look, there's a camera there.
Yeah. I know a lot of people don't watch a picture in picture. But I thought it was pretty funny. I just happened to notice it and realize what was going on.
Yeah.
Obviously that's what they want, but usually I don't pay that close attention to it. SCU versus Kip and Havoc, solid match. That's all I really have to say on that. Nothing.
Did we skip Cody's segment?
Cody? I don't know. What
I thought
you
that,
got it.
yeah, I thought
If
that
you
happened
got it,
before.
come
That
on.
where he was coming out, he was talking about how Tom Brady was his favorite quarterback. He wasn't picked first, but he still had this great legacy, even though that wasn't the case. And I mean, he was just out there talking, and that's where he started issuing an open challenge. And yeah, maybe I got my timeline wrong. I thought that did happen before the Kip
No,
Sabian
I don't even
challenge.
have it listed. You know
Yeah.
what? I don't know why. I must have completely just forgot.
Well,
But go
yeah,
ahead. Yeah.
it was interesting because yeah, he's now turning his TNT championship into an open challenge. He's going to put on the line every week, and you and I were talking about this earlier. Very very similar to what John Cena did back in the day when he won the USA title. It's the first time he won like a minor league title after having been winning big titles all his career. And I like this idea. I love the idea of open challenge every week because I always feel like when you run into a situation like that, you have an opportunity to showcase somebody different every week. Because whoever goes into the ring with Cody is going to come out better, and not just for purposes of exposure, but Cody again, very good at what he does. He can make anybody look like $1,000,000. I really like this idea a lot. That this is going to be a weekly challenge, and we'll see where we go with that. But I thought that was an important segment just because of what it's going to lead to. So maybe we're going to have an opportunity to see either A, folks who Cody normally doesn't wrestle, but B, we might see brand new people come out of this, to come out of the blue, out of nowhere, that this will be their introduction, will maybe be wrestling him for the TNT title. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think. I mean, that's a TV title thing. To me, it's like basically a TV title almost, and that should be a weekly thing. I do like the open challenge, so it's not necessarily predicated on a win or a loss. Now, if we were to if we were to book the next program for the TNT title, what direction would you go? Who would you book to have a longer program with Cody making a chase for the TNT title?
See, it's hard to say this because of the fact that obviously you're talking face to face, but this is something where I feel like Orange Cassidy would be perfect for. Like, yes, I'd love to see him in a program with Jericho, but also being in a program with somebody like Cody would elevate him. And I feel like if you want to test the waters with giving him some type of gold, or at least have him compete for it, this might be it. I kind of would want to put him into this type of a situation
Okay.
as far as a program goes.
I mean, how would you run it? Would you run it? Would you run it for 6 months to a year?
See, that's the problem with the TV title. Can you really have a TV title angle last that long? I don't know. I feel like a TV title is a bit more temporary. I feel like it bounces around more than a world title would. But maybe that's
But I
me.
don't.
I don't know.
I don't see. But to me, again, it ruins prestige of a title. That's wrestling mentality.
Mhm.
Modern wrestling mentality. Title. It's they never hold hands. I feel like the TNT title needs to be represented in a way where it's held for a while before it's given up, and then you work that into a you work the angle of the program for longer periods of time. I would almost say, see, because I don't want honestly, I don't want Cody sitting on the title for 6 months for a year.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so I would say run a program for 6 months. Obviously, he has a challenge. Anybody could come out and challenge, and you could actually use that to your advantage while he's in the middle of a program with someone else, where there's that weekly challenge. He's getting constantly, whatever, while building a storyline with someone else, and you can do both at the same time, and maybe works one or two or three challengers into that program. Um, I would say 6 month program. The obvious people would be Darby and MJF. I there's the history with both that he can play off of. Um, I don't know that I would. You would think that I pose this question, I would have an answer. I wanted to kind of do this on the fly,
Sure.
to make it, kind of dwell on it a little bit, maybe come up with something on the fly. Aside from I would almost say you. I don't know if you want to put MJF in that position right now. I would more or less say, oh man, maybe you do. I don't know. Would you put MJF? Would you put that title on MJF before you gave him a title, like a world title run?
I honestly, I wouldn't. I think that MJF is better suited to be immediately in the title hunt.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't want to look at, and it's so easy to do this. I don't want to look at a TV title as a stepping stone. I know a lot of times that's how secondary titles are looked at. They're looked at stepping stones to the big title. But,
I'm with you.
But there are certain guys who need that stepping stone and certain guys who don't. I feel like you give it as a stepping stone to somebody who needs that extra little push. MJF doesn't need that. He's got what he needs to right away warp zone to just fighting for the main title. Right, whereas someone like an Orange Cassidy or a Jungle Boy or a Darby or somebody like that, they are in that hemisphere where it makes sense to maybe try to give them that little rock to jump on first and fight for a title like this, give them just a bit more exposure to get them to see that bit more over that they need to get to, and then they go ahead and they fight for the world title if they can prove their mettle in that regard.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would say, all right, so obviously MJF, I would take him out as well because that's kind of where I've been thinking lately, where I just feel he's beyond the TV title. I think that, or TNT title. Sorry, I'm just gonna.
It is a TV title. Yeah, I think it's nothing wrong with saying it. Yeah.
So if I had to say, Darby has the built in, but I would almost give Sammy the run. Maybe throw in Darby do a 6-month run with Sammy and Cody. Throw in Sammy. I'm sorry, Sammy and Cody. Throw Darby in the mix on and off. Cody, he chases Cody, loses. Chases Cody, loses. Chases Cody, loses. 6 months. Finally climbs the mountain, gets it. Now it's Sammy with the title. Now you work Sammy. Somehow between that 6 months, you get Darby in the mix. Obviously, Darby and Sammy have a history already, but you use the build in that for once Sammy gets it. Now you build the next program and you let it be Sammy and Darby, and you build that, and you work to whoever wins, keeps the title, changes hands, whatever. Just my thought. Just my thought right there.
No,
I think those two should right now. Like that's kind of why I was pissed off that they put on Cody. You almost want to give the cachet.
Yeah.
You only have so many people, but I felt like Darby and Sammy should have been on separate brackets and got to the finals.
Yeah.
I mean, we spoke about this before.
We did, and that would have made a lot of sense actually. Yeah.
So I feel like Cody and Sammy get into it, find a way to get it popping. 6 months, like a little 6-month program. This way the title's not changing hands every 2 months, and maybe throw Darby in the mix, obviously, because there's history with both guys. Sammy tries, loses, tries, loses. Then boom, finally climbs the mountain, gets the title, and then you could segue right into Darby and Sammy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be a dynamic match because both of them guys are really good at what they do.
Absolutely.
So there you go. I mean, that's my thought process on it.
All right.
And I do like. I do like the every week challenge. I mean, for me, I feel like it opens up a lot.
I mean,
even if you have a storyline, it opens up a lot to add to the storyline.
Yeah.
For that title, even if you have a long program, it opens up a lot more in between that program.
Yeah, because you're kind of forced to do that because I don't want to. I mean, yeah, we'll get back to the Kip Sabian match, but with Jimmy Havoc.
We can move to the next one because that was just a good match. It was a solid match.
Yeah, but yeah, that kind of ties to what we're talking about here because there was the Battle Royal for the future TNT Championship match, and then it's like, okay, you're right, you need to have kind of like these. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, kind of little pieces of storylines happening to lead to other big events. And so, because on one hand, it's like, well, why does there have to be a future TNT Championship match if he's just defending it every week? But then on the other hand, it's like, well, yeah, you do need to save like these big feuds, these big rivalries, and have something to be taking place off on the side. And so that's why, yes, we have a battle royal for a future championship match. And I was a little surprised, actually. I didn't think I when it came down to, Jungle Boy, Orange Cassidy, it's like, and this is what before I even saw this, I was already thinking to myself, Orange Cassidy would be good to have in there. I was kind of surprised that Jungle Boy won. I don't know. Jungle Boy, again, great. Would I put him over Cassidy as far as having that future championship match in his back pocket? I don't know.
Okay, before we get into the Battle Royal, NJF's promo.
Yeah.
Gold as always. Didn't like the end with that slight rift with him and Wardlow. And Wardlow looked at him like,
yeah,
what? You know? I didn't like it because I love that duo. The chicken shit heel with the bodyguard. I love it. I love it. Do not fucking cause a rift between them. I can't foresee anything better than what they are now coming out of it, if you get what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
I mean, unfortunately, that, history has been littered with this kind of a situation. The chicken shit heel with his bodyguard, and they eventually break up. I think, to your point, yes, it's happening too soon. Exactly. It's too early. I think that this would be great maybe a year from now. I would say a year. I would say give it a good year. Then it would be a good idea to have it happen. You're right. It's too early for it. But again, I mean, history is just littered with this situation, and they're rushing it a little bit. But maybe they'll really, really milk it. Maybe it'll take a while for a true split to happen, and it's just going to be little needling from MJF week after week after week, maybe even over the course of a number of months, until finally something snaps. So hopefully that'll be the route that they go, and it won't be so fast.
Yeah, well, I mean, so not a fan of the battle royals.
Yeah,
like I said, I mean they're sloppy. They're never really, the choke slam on fucking Luther was, god damn, that looked brutal, man.
Yeah.
Whew. Yeah. I thought, going back to Cutler and Avalon, I thought it was funny that they kept that feud going now on Dynamite. They had brought it into Dark. It went from BTE to Dark. Now they're bringing a little bit of aspects of it on Dynamite, which was cool.
Yep.
They're both like, trying. They both lose. They both whatever. So I thought that was fun. The fact that they didn't go with the obvious person winning was cool. I didn't mind Jungle Boy winning.
Oh yeah,
me personally.
I don't mind him winning either. I would have preferred Cassidy, but I don't mind it. I mean, for sure.
The funny part for me was, we saw Orange come out. We saw him get attacked. We saw he never really made it in the ring. The fact that I completely forgot, this is what they want. They want fans to forget, so he comes back. It's a surprise at the end.
Right. Exactly.
I never forget this shit.
I never either. No, in the back of my head, I'm always like, yeah, but he's still up on the side. He's still up on the side.
Even as a kid, you don't forget. You're not like, oh shit. Fucking hilarious. I legit forgot he was out there. And when he popped in the ring at the end, I go, holy shit, I can't believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, they finally, 42 years on this fucking planet, they finally got me.
No.
Hey, shit.
I have to say, I kept remembering in the back of my head, it's like, Doc.
You know what? A lot of times they'll remind you, too. They'll remind you. Like, Ric Flair hasn't been eliminated.
Yeah, exactly,
he's still,
exactly. That's the poor way of doing it, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
They actually didn't remind you. So I was like, motherfucker, they got me. So I wouldn't have been upset with either guy, like you said. You'd have preferred Orange Cassidy, but I'm good. I was good either way. I would have preferred Orange Cassidy, I think, as well.
And again,
I think Jungle Boy deserves it, man.
Yeah,
he put on a fucking hell of a match with MJF.
Agreed. He totally deserves it. And again, Cassidy's going to be fine because it sounds like maybe he's going to be getting into a program eventually with Jericho, in which case he'll be fine. It's cool.
Right.
But yeah, so they
Uh,
just basically announcing for next week. So it's gonna be Cody and Jungle Boy for TNT Championship. Tag title match was announced as well. Jimmy Havoc and Sabian versus Kenny Omega and Adam Page. And they did officially say that Moxley and Brian Cage is going to be on for Fyter Fest. So yeah, they I like that they took that little break just to announce what's coming up next.
Yeah. Okay, so segueing into the pep rally.
Yep.
I can't believe Vicky fucking Guerrero didn't need a mic. She was louder than the fucking music, bro.
She doesn't need a mic, man. And she is loud as fuck.
Like, what
Crazy.
the fuck?
She's got a very strong voice. She really does.
I'm like, what the fuck, man?
I've seen her a few times at shows. She's been going to a number of comic conventions over the last couple of years.
Oh,
and when you hear her talk, it's like she even over crowd. She's got a booming voice. She's got a really, really good set of lungs. So yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, I could tell she was louder than the music by a lot. The pep rally was fun. Man.
It was
like I thought it. Again, it's like the whole Jericho. What was it? Jericho's birthday or whatever the fuck it was. But I think the best part was the participation trophies.
Yes.
That I thought was the best.
That was beautiful.
Santana giving him the boots, and she goes, but they're bootleg Tims, man. Yeah. They're bootleg Tims. Like they weren't even Timberlands. I was dying. Oh man. I thought the participation trophies were fucking solid.
They were great.
I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah.
And at the end, when they're like, where's the bubbly? And they come out drinking the bubbly with Mike Tyson. Oh my God. Vitor Belfort, who is one of my all-time favorite MMA fighters. Triple C, Henry Cejudo, who just retired from mixed martial arts as the champ, who is an Olympic gold medal wrestler and two-division world champ in UFC, held both titles, a.k.a. Triple C. And Rashad Evans, who's a retired mixed martial artist. And those three guys were out there with Iron Mike. And it kind of popped me because I'm a big MMA fan. I love mixed martial arts. And Vitor Belfort, like I said, like going back, he's probably one of my first favorite mixed martial arts fighters of all time. At the time, he's literally, as a fan of fighting, you can't say I have one favorite. I have a bunch of all times. They're legit. Like I watch every fight. Stuff like that. I don't just I don't have just like I kind of like them. There's guys I kind of like, but he's part of my all-time favorite. So I was kind of excited about that. I don't think that he'll necessarily wrestle or Triple C. I'd like to see Cejudo wrestle, but he's tiny as shit. He's a little guy. He's like 135er, but he's like legit small.
You know what though? You never know, because again, this brings us right back to what we were saying at the very beginning of the show. You can have these guys who may not necessarily be able to hang in an actual wrestling match and not look necessarily great doing so. You put them in something that's cinematic style, and you can make it work.
You can.
So that might, because I was thinking the same thing. I'm obviously not as much into MMA as you are. You've wrapped circles around me with that. But it is something to think about in the back of your head that you see these guys out there and you're thinking, all right, they've got enough experience, fighting experience to be able to do something with AEW, and maybe you could put them into something like that. You could have some type of a cinematic style match to put these guys in there with Tyson. But we'll see.
That's true.
It was cool. They look great together, though. They really did.
It was cool watching Tyson come out. You get in his face, and you could see he was like overly animated about it. And I didn't realize. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, that bothered me a little bit. He basically, all right, this was obviously hearkening back to Austin Tyson before WrestleMania. No. It was very similar as far as how the pull apart came together and how they were in each other's faces. It was a very similar thing.
I didn't know that Jericho and him did something in 2010-ish.
Yes, that's the other thing I was going to bring.
I'm
going to bring that up in a minute, but that also was very surprising. But
go ahead.
But the feel of it, and there's nothing wrong with this at all. The feel of it, though, they did do a good job, and I think they were trying to pay homage to that Austin Tyson pull apart that they had back in '98 before WrestleMania.
Okay.
There, Tyson was cool as a cucumber.
Right.
It wasn't until Austin gave him the fingers, he just shoved him calmly and like he was starting to get at. Here, he was a little goofy. He was a little too over into it. And what was painful for me was he's desperately trying to tear off that shirt and he can't do it. It's like, it just feels terrible.
Word is he didn't even want to rip the shirt off.
I'm not surprised. Yeah. I'm not surprised because he's probably thinking to himself, I'm not going to be able to make this look legit on camera, like unless he's just going to do it.
Honestly, if he just ripped it the way he did and just left it hanging there, it would have been better than him still trying to fight it.
I agree. But I also, it's so funny you brought that up in regard to the history. I had forgotten about this. I had to look this up afterwards to remember that, yes, back in 2010, there was a short little program that went on with Tyson and Jericho in WWE. Tyson knocked Jericho out. And it's so funny because, like of all the things to harken back to, something that probably everybody and their parents forgot about because it was such a throwaway thing. Anytime you mention Tyson and WWE, all people think about is WrestleMania with Austin and DX. Nobody thinks about with Jericho in 2010. Nobody.
Right.
So I kind of appreciated that. I like the fact that they took this very little piece of forgotten history from 10 years ago and tried to say, this is still a thing. I still have a problem with you. I like that. I like the whole cross-promotional things where they're basically trying to say, this shit all really happened. We're not in some kind of alternate reality because we're in a different company. This shit really went down. I liked how WCW did that back in the day with Hogan and Piper and Hogan and Warrior. I like that they acknowledged that the past was the past, even if it was a different company. Right. So I particularly enjoyed that quite a bit. I like that they brought that in. I like that they're not just starting something fresh with the two of them, that they're actually saying that there's history.
Yeah, a lot of people are shitting on it. AEW's doing what WWE did, and Tyson, they got Tyson at the end. You got to understand, okay, it harkens back to the whole thing that Mark Henry got me to flip my mindset. You bring names in, okay, granted, he was a name that was already brought in. You're bringing other eyes to the organization. Granted, it was already done with him, but he's now hot. He's now a hot commodity again.
Yep.
I mean, Mike Tyson never really goes away, but he does get hotter at certain points of his career.
Yeah.
There's no hotter Mike Tyson in the past decade than right now.
It's true.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm wrong.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Maybe not the last decade, but, at least the last 5 to 8 years maybe. So.
Yeah, I for sure can't think of much of what he's done at all in the last, 20 years, except, again, WrestleMania and maybe a few spots here and there. You'll see him pop up in different programs and such. But
his fighting career and stuff. I mean, but since he's retired, I mean, there's been a few. There's been little things where he's popped. He's did his little tour, telling the stories and stuff, and that was another point where he was very hot. Like now, I mean, now's the hottest he's been in say 5 years. Just say,
yeah,
So, of course, I mean, Mike Tyson's talking about coming back to fight at his age, then to show the videos. I mean, he's popping, man. You can't, if you're popping, that's just going to bring the eyes on. No matter who the fuck did it in the past, the rival organization or not, it's going to bring eyes to your organization and to fans that are not necessarily pro wrestling fans. So, in my eyes, it's a bonus, and I thought they executed it well.
Yep.
I thought it was fun. I liked the little brawl. What does it lead to? Does Mike get his hands on Jericho? Does he send his guys at Jericho? Do they actually get Mike to get in a ring and wrestle Jericho, like you said, and do a cinematic thing where if they fuck up, they could just redo it. Take 2, take 3.
That's what I think it's going to be. I think either A, you have to look at something like that, which again provides opportunity for the MMA guys to get involved as well if you do something like that.
Yeah.
Or if you don't do that, I think you're probably going to have to look at some type of a tag team match where Tyson's out doing the majority of the work, partnering with somebody to protect him. Exactly. Yeah. I honestly hope they go the cinematic route for this, because I
That
kind
would
of
be
feel like
cool.
Tyson will look at his best doing something like that, versus even if it's in a tag team match where you don't really do much with him, he's more protected than anything else, then you're just getting cheated out of really getting to see him. I figure, you know what? You're bringing somebody in technically from the entertainment world now. He's not as much as part of the sporting world as he used to be. Take advantage of that. Do
100%.
something big, make a production out of it. I think that'll be great. And Jericho has gone on record. We didn't talk about this at the beginning.
Okay.
Jericho has gone on record saying that he felt that Stadium Stampede was his favorite thing he's done in his entire career. That is a big thing to say for how long his career's been.
Yeah, I heard him say that.
So he likes that. He likes that type of style, which makes sense because it gives him an opportunity as well at his age to not have to show too many of his weaknesses. Because he's also, again, he's getting to the point, he just had a championship. He's still very much an active wrestler. All that being said, he is definitely an age now where you do see a lot of the holes that you would normally not see in a basic wrestling match. He, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, may be a good candidate for, if you're going to have him wrestle and you're going to have him be a big name on this roster, maybe these types of matches are his go-to, because that's where he will prove himself best. So you put him in there with Tyson, with these other guys, you turn into a big spectacle, because Tyson's all about spectacle. I think it could be something big. I think that needs to be where this leads. It's some type of a cinematic environment style match where it's like a big Hollywood production. I'd be looking
I
forward to it.
I agree. I think when you mention that, clicked with me instantly. So I 100% agree with you there. I think that's a perfect way to use Mike Tyson. You could take one, take two, take five, take 20, whatever the fuck it takes for Tyson to get something right.
Yep.
Boom, and it's and now you've used Tyson in more of a way than WWE ever did.
Exactly.
WWE ever did. Sorry, I like
Yeah.
fumbled over my words there.
Yeah, because that's the thing. They wasted him too when you think about it. In '98, he wasn't an old man yet, man. He was still all right. He was what, like 10 years off his prime. They could have done something a lot more with him than what they did. And then obviously in 2010 they did nothing with him at all. So yeah, I there's an opportunity here for a
I mean,
format that
I
never
don't think
existed back in the day.
he wasn't that far off his prime. I mean,
He wasn't. He wasn't. They
yeah,
could have done more with him, I think, for
right.
sure.
He was headed towards the downside of his career
Yeah,
at
but he
that
wasn't there
point.
yet.
Right.
So yeah, here you go. I think this is interesting how we've kind of come full circle from the start of the show to
Yeah,
now where we are
agree.
now. It's like, all right, we have found an example of a situation involving specific personalities here in this company who where this type of a direction makes sense. You don't do it all the time. You don't throw it out there all the time. It's not a monthly thing,
Right.
but for specific instances, it makes for a nice spectacle.
Right. Yeah, I guess with that we'll end it, man.
Yeah.
Just like we said at the top, in our description, you want to get on the show, just be a guest, phone in, whatever you want to call it, pop in or, ask questions, have some discussion with us. Just get on our Skype, send us a message and we'll add you to our Skype channel. From that chat, we will be bringing on guests. So you got to be in that chat in order to get on the show as a guest. So if you want to be a guest on the show, which is what we want it to be an interactive show. We don't, us bantering back and forth right now. We're early on in it, so we only have a certain amount of listeners. But we once more listeners come aboard, we definitely want to have you on and discuss with you guys. Like we keep saying, interactive. That's what we want the show to be. So, check the links, check our podcast on all the podcast apps. You can get them there. Like, subscribe, please. That's huge for the algorithms on YouTube. Also on iTunes, rate and review, please. That's huge for the podcast side of it,
Yep.
getting us out there and seen a little bit more. And, we got our website. You can send us emails with something you want us to discuss on air. If you're a little shy and you don't want to come on camera. But that's really it, guys. We just want to thank you, those who check us out, listen to our podcast, watch the video. Just shout out to you and Alan again. Thanks for coming on for another show with with me, and I
Yeah,
mean
man.
you're the co-host, so you got no choice. But you know, thanks for becoming an AEW guy.
That's right, man.
All right, guys. Thanks again.
Thanks, everybody.
Shout out to Eddie out there who's in the chat
Yes, Eddie's
going
our biggest
crazy.
supporter. Absolutely.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Eddie.
Eddie.
All right, guys. Peace.
Peace out.